Soaring electricity costs are being blamed for an increase in the theft of hundreds of tonnes of firewood from Tasmania's forest reserves. In some areas, thieves are taking rare species of timber. Parks and wildlife officers have ramped up a campaign to stop them, using surveillance technology to catch the thieves in action. Fiona Breen has been to some of the worst hit forests.
The Three Thumbs State Reserve on the east coast is considered an important area of forest, just one step down from a national park. It's the mix of blue gums, white peppermints, stringy barks and Oyster Bay pines, as well as the views that attract the bushwalkers and forest enthusiasts. But it's fast becoming a destination for all the wrong reasons.
There's the track in here where they've cleared a path in through all the saplings.
Right, okay, well let's go in, we'll see what sort of damage they've done and we'll see if we can put a camera in there and see where we go from there, okay?
No worries.
Illegal woodcutters using four-wheel drives are pushing their own tracks through, and they don't care what they knock over in the process.
What do you reckon?
Well, it's fairly clear that they've brought their vehicle in here, made a fairly big clearing, done a fair bit of damage there. A couple of trees they've dropped here. They haven't taken that one by the look of it.
Parks and wildlife officers regularly come face to face with devastation. Ripped out fences, pushed in trails, leftover stumps, felled and damaged trees, and lots of sawdust.
As you can see, they've come up in here through an old quarry. They've pushed in a trail and then driven up into the valley here, and then on foot they've gone up into the valley, taken out most of the large trees and winched them down where they can clean them up, load them onto a trailer.
Down south, the forest on the edge of the Meehan Range might not be quite as pretty, but it's home to some rare species of eucalypts and birds, like the endangered swift parrot. It's regularly hit by vandals and thieves.
If you think about what that's doing in terms of the environment, we've got the introduction of weeds, you've got unsightly trails, you've lost most of the big trees in this part, and then of course there's just a huge amount of erosion of dangerously felled trees. It's a real hazard to anyone who's in here, and quite frankly this has been reserved for people to enjoy. I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable in here with my family trying to enjoy something that's been absolutely trashed.
Wood theft from the state's forest reserves, national parks and working forests is a growing problem, particularly in areas on the outskirts of Tasmania's towns and cities.
All we have is anecdotal evidence, but when you look at the problem across reserves, across private land and across forestry, it is a very, very large problem. We would typically have evidence of wood theft in our reserves on almost a daily basis.
It keeps park rangers busy working on repairs.
I'd say it's our primary activity during winter. If you think about the costs of having all the various rangers patrolling all of our far-flung reserves, it's a huge drain on our budget. Now that money could and should be spent on doing better things for the environment, like protecting rare plants, reducing fire hazard, maintenance of infrastructure and campsites, those sorts of things.
This is a classic where someone hasn't had the falling technique and all they've come in is just put one cut in, waited for the tree to fall, and it could have gone anywhere.
Forestry Tasmania estimates hundreds of tonnes of wood is stolen from forests each year, costing government and forestry businesses.
Around us there's probably around 20 trees that have been felled. A lot of the stems and trunks have been taken, with the heads of the trees being left out on the road that we've driven in, and so those roads are used for accessing the forest.
One area constantly targeted by thieves is a dry eucalypt forest near Labrina in the state's north.
In many cases the trees are being hung up in other trees, which means they're endangering themselves. And it's also costing us money because we need to send some of our professional fallers out to make the areas safe again.
Bass District Forest Manager Peter Bird keeps an eye on the forests between St Helens on the east coast and Ulverston in the northwest. He believes this winter has been worse than ever.
At the moment it's increasing, particularly through these later winter months when people need firewood. And the difficulty is that people are coming out to forests like this and are falling standing green trees, which is obviously no good for their firewood collection.
Parks and Wildlife is so concerned about the impact on its forests, it's ramped up its campaign against wood thieves. They've set up a compliance unit, manned by 3 officers stationed around the state.
A significant amount of resources has been put behind this, so we really want to get some good results, and we've already started to see the benefits of those resources already. We've had a number of prosecutions in place, and we aim to see quite a number more in the future.
They're also introducing technology into the forests in the form of camouflaged cameras.
The technology we've got are basically still cameras. They are motion activated, so when people drive into the reserves or walk past the cameras, they're set off. We can gain intelligence from that, and hopefully identify people by registration numbers and also by seeing who they are in the photographs.
Already, photos from the cameras have resulted in some arrests.
At least 4 or 5 cases that we've got going at the moment are specifically based around evidence gathered from cameras.
Like police, the compliance officers are gathering evidence and even knocking on doors. It's been a shock for some suspected wood thieves.
We've had quite a number of people who haven't realised that parks actually do investigations. They've always just tried to avoid the rangers. So now that we're actually actively doing investigations, going out and visiting them at their homes, they're certainly shocked when we do turn up.
With power prices rising, the incentive to come into forests like this and steal wood is high. But it's hoped this increased surveillance, hefty fines and more prosecutions will put people off. Parks and Wildlife are quick to point out it's prevention, not prosecution, that they're after. Either way, they've put wood thieves on notice. They're being watched.